Chicago?
Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, it is streaming. I'm gonna close some things before I get any like multiple. I have a tendency of forgetting. I have tabs open, so I just hear like an echo of like alerts going off.
Yeah.
It's not a stream for me if I don't forget something.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like it's just tradition for your stream to have some kind of technical difficulties,
Mm-hmm.
especially at the beginning.
Yeah, I mine is usually I forget to unmute.
Yeah.
Or today it was I took a little break during an ad to go get water or whatnot, and
Mhm.
came back and I was like, oh, my camera's been up this whole time.
Yeah, I've done that.
And
Or
then,
I've like forgotten to switch over from that camera when I get back.
and then I'm like, did I do anything embarrassing? Is there something I forgot? I'm like, I'm afraid. I look.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just like, no VOD, just to be
Yep.
sure.
Yep.
And I probably have questions around that will come up around streaming, of course.
We'll get there.
Yeah, I figure give people. I said around 6. I always like to like preamble.
Mm-hmm.
And let's see. I'm trying to think of an icebreaker. I mean, this would be
Okay.
something I'd probably ask later, but I've been asking these kind of things. Um, is there? I've seen this around social media. Is there a gaming world that you'd want to live in?
So it's so funny because I see this question a lot,
Yeah,
and the kind of games I play
yeah,
are like dark fantasy. You know, like
yeah.
the worst possible setting that you can go for. Everything is doomed. Everything's terrible. And then I'm like, oh, Pokemon.
Pokemon would be cool.
Pokemon is probably the number one answer.
Pokemon, Pokemon's a good one.
But yeah, it's like I have a Dark Souls tattoo.
Nice.
I play tabletop. I play Warhammer. What have I been playing lately? I've been playing a lot of WoW lately, which I don't want to live in either.
No.
Both in real life and in the game.
Oh, hi Bob. Welcome. Bob is
Bob.
new. Bob is this is Bob's first year doing Extra Life.
Welcome. Welcome.
And if anyone's joining and also has questions for Payton, I will do I guess I'll do introductions in just a few moments. I just figure I do see people are starting to roll in. I see some chat, so I think we can kind of start going along a little bit. If anyone notices, I talk with my hands a lot, even if I'm just streaming. I do it more in person, but they say I am awfully quiet.
Really? You sound fine to me.
It could be a setting I have on OBS, or it could be my microphone. How's that? Is that better? That's a little bit louder. I feel like streaming's also just like fine tuning levels.
Yeah. It's about, honestly, I find that a lot of the time people are very forgiving of like visual glitches and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
But audio, people can't stand it when the audio is bad.
Yeah. It's actually that's a great bit of advice. Is there? So it sounds like an advice you'd give to someone who's like looking to stream. Would you say? What would you say? Like, kind of. I always try to people like don't immediately dump a ton of money in, but what's something you'd recommend for someone who's looking to start streaming to maybe invest a little bit into?
Yeah, it depends on what you want to stream on. If you are a console person, I would get like a game capture card or something like that. I think audio is really important. I think a mic is really important. Although these are just old headphones that I use, but they seem to have been working so far. A good webcam is pretty important. It's not, I don't know. I think the most important thing is more about just practicing being on camera and just practicing being open and live to an audience and just hanging out. Because a lot of the time, especially when I first started, I would do what I normally do when I game, which is I would lean forward and I would stare at the screen and I would go really silent. And that's not the most entertaining thing to watch in the world.
Yeah.
So that would be my advice. Is like, yeah, all the equipment is important. I think just practicing is more important.
That's 100% agree. I feel like I've gotten more comfortable over the years. I just wanted to ask that as like that felt like a natural place to ask a question. However, I realized because I forgot one time when I had a stream that I didn't do an introduction until the end of the stream.
Yeah.
So for anyone just joining, I am Dave, aka Aero-84, and I do some of the programming here on the Actual Life Chicago Twitch Guild channel here. And I'm joined with Payton. Payton, if you want to give a little introduction of, you want to share your handles, pronouns,
Sure.
Any of that general information?
Yeah, I'm Payton. I'm he, him. My handles are Mr. Withers, Mr._Withers on Twitch. That's kind of it for I'm on Discord as well. Most of my game handles are Mr. Withers or something like that, so feel free to reach out. He, him, I think I said. And I am on the board of the Chicago Extra Life Guild. My chair is business relations and tabletop gaming.
Cool.
That's me.
Thank you, and glad to have you a part of the Guild Advisor Board. As someone who's been here from the beginning, it's been exciting for me to see it grow, and especially something I think we will cover as we go along is just letting people use like their passion or the things they know a good amount of in helping spread like what Extra Life is about, fundraising opportunities, recruitment opportunities, things like that. But I'm gonna try to like hot ones this and jump back a little bit. I think it was Chrissy we were talking earlier, and something I want to ask. What is kind of it could be board game, video game. What do you think is kind of like the first game you recall that kind of got you into gaming, if you can remember that far back?
Like here's the thing. If we're going back to me being a child, I would play with my grandmother with little plastic toy animals in a big toy barn, and I would come up with stories with the animals and things like that.
Okay. You were playing Stardew Valley back then.
Yeah. Kind of. The dinosaurs. I do very much so have strong memory of watching my dad play Ocarina of Time.
Nice.
That is probably one of the first ones. And then I ended up playing, because Ocarina of Time was too scary for me at the time. Specifically when you went to like Hyrule and it was the dark time with all the zombies roaming around.
When you travel
too much for me. Yeah. Specifically the game that I remember playing a lot on the N64 when I was a kid was probably Super Smash Bros.
Put a lot of time into that game.
That kind of fed my addiction, I think, of like crossover games. You know, the idea of taking all these different genres and just smashing them into one game together. I'm a big sucker of that.
The Who Framed Roger Rabbit of video games, as I sometimes refer to it. Especially like the new recent iteration, there's just like everything.
It's almost been a little bit too much lately. I say that about the things that I don't like, but then they suddenly release like Fallout for Magic the Gathering. And I'm getting like 3 or 4 decks, you know?
I just saw Ghostbusters. I just saw like there's a bunch coming. So I feel ya, and I can't go down that rabbit hole.
Totally understandable.
Which I also want to thank Payton actually got me back into playing some TCGs. So if anyone doesn't know, we were at Extra Life United in July, and Payton actually brought you brought a couple different commander decks. Is that correct?
I brought 4 commander decks.
Commander decks.
I brought Magic the Gathering decks. Yeah. So for those of you who don't know, I can go on to this for a million years. There's a format in Magic the Gathering called Commander, where you essentially have like a main character for your deck, and they're like the leader of your deck, and you can play them. And my decks were Mothman, a Mothman deck, because I love cryptids. A rat deck, a like Bloodborne themed Eldritch Investigation deck, and finally it was a Fallout themed deck, specifically Mr. House from New Vegas. And I just set them up on the tables, and I essentially sent out messages on Discord, and I was just hanging out. And I said, if you can choose one of my decks and try to play me, or you can play one of your own decks against me. If I win, you donate ELCG bucks, ELU bucks, and then if you win, then I'll give you ELU bucks. And I just kind of hung out and I played Magic,
which
a lot of fun.
It was a highlight for me. So kind of on that, I know you weren't able to join us for the Extra Life United like after party. Just to ask you, what was maybe one of the a highlight for you from ELU?
There were a couple. I do think my favorite moment was when I was on the second day, very early in the morning, when the champions were doing autographs. And for those of you who don't know, there were 5 kids, representing 4 teams at ELU, and they were all Children's Miracle Network Hospital patients. And they were that morning setting up a table to autograph just things, whatever they wanted. And let me see if I can actually find that card. Hold on. I had my decks with me, and I was thinking about what I want, and like they were giving out like signed pictures and stuff like that, which I thought was cool. But I thought, what if I got one of my cards signed? So I had to figure out which card I wanted to get signed. So I was sitting off to the side and just kind of like shuffling through my decks and figuring out which one. Let me see if I can find it. If I can't find it, I'll just tell it. Sure. It was called Comet Stellar Pup, and it is a little dog in an astronaut outfit. And I'm like, that's adorable. One of my favorite cards. And I was like, I'm gonna get that card signed by the champions. So, oh man, I can't wait until I shuffle past it, which I totally did. So I got them signed by all the champions. I wanted to get Ella's signature, because Ella was my team's champion.
Mine too.
I was on the Ella team.
Yeah.
And I got them. I would say that was my favorite memory.
That's cool.
That, and also sitting and mini painting with a bunch of people on game night. That was a lot of fun. I did not expect to be mini painting that night.
Me neither.
Because I didn't bring anything, but like someone just brought minis, and I have to.
Yeah, I appreciate. I don't have steady hands, but Payton gave me a hair tie to wrap around my fingers and actually helped steady my fingers a bit to paint. Unfortunately, we had to leave suddenly, and I forgot my figure. So.
Oh no!
Yeah. I left because we took a group picture.
Anyway,
here's
Comet.
Oh, that's so cool.
And then on the back,
I
got all the kids' signatures.
Yeah.
So now it's going to be a tradition where every year I'm going to go with a different card and see if I can get it signed by all the champions.
That's a great idea.
I have to figure out what card I'm going to do next, because I can't show up with like
something terrifying.
Hey kids, here's Vorinclex, the hungering devourer. Like the Phyrexian hunger. Yeah, that doesn't quite work very well versus Comet the Stellar Pup. Maybe I'll do Pokemon cards.
That would be cool. Could get Lorcana.
I do. Yeah. Lorcana. I'm interested.
Yeah.
One of my favorite games as a kid was also like Kingdom Hearts, which again with the crossover thing.
Yeah.
And Arcana feels like Kingdom Hearts to me.
It's got a bit of that.
Lorcana.
Yeah. And because I'll ask another extra life question in a bit, but you
Mhm.
mentioned earlier that and about the painting minifigures, uh, Warhammer. I think you mentioned is kind of your bag for minifigures. Um,
Yes.
would you mind sharing like how you discovered like that was something you want to try? You know, it's like
Yeah. So I would say, man, how do I even go about this? A long time ago, probably when I was like, probably either in college, when I was bored, I would read about this thing called Warhammer. Because my dad, I remember, read a book from Warhammer, and I ended up reading it, and I ended up really liking it, but I didn't really understand what was going on. Um, and I specifically, after a certain amount of time passed, I started working at libraries as a circulation clerk on night shifts. So really late at night, really no one's coming in. I'm just sitting at the front door. And I just started reading about Warhammer. And I found out more and more and more and more about the characters, about the world, about all of that stuff. No interest in the game at the time. Absolutely none. I'm like, I'm not a mini painting artist. I'm not um, a tabletop gamer. I don't really want to dive into what is honestly people describe as capital T, capital H, the hobby. Um, I'm just interested in the characters in the world and all that stuff. And I like looking at the mini paintings, but I'm not good enough to do that. And then after a certain amount of time, I started working at a makerspace. And at one point, my boss came up to me and was like, "Do you know anything about Warhammer?" I was like, "I know a little bit. I'm not gonna lie." And she's like, "Okay, there's a Warhammer store down the street. I want you to run a Warhammer program." And I went, "Okay." And then I went and got my first set of miniatures. Um, and I sat down with the store manager at the time. He was a great guy. I'm still friends with him. And he taught me how to play, and he talks about Warhammer. And I learned how to paint minis, and I learned how to play the game. I met a lot of people, which I think was my favorite part about the entire experience. But ultimately, it was because I was asked by my job to get into Warhammer.
hey, that's not a bad deal if you ask me. Like
No, not at all.
any way I can be paid to be kind of nerdy, I'm like that's yes, I would
Yeah,
like to do that.
that's the fun part, is they very much so actively encourage me at my work to like represent yourself through your work.
That's that's like getting to show. Like I sometimes feel at some previous jobs, it's like you kind of, at least for me, like I've had to tone down maybe the nerdy or just kind of hold it
Mm-hmm.
back. Maybe there's like a conversation that comes up, but it's like, oh, oh, you're letting the chain, you're letting the leash off me, right? So I can just go
Yeah,
full nerd.
yeah.
um,
The signature on my email
mm-hmm.
says currently painting Cities of Sigmar, currently playing Final Fantasy 14.
That's cool.
I am absolutely like, yeah, no, my job is so not tied up in my hobby, but I would say I am a very creative person in general, and I like creating things. I like customizing things, and I like games and hobbies where people can represent themselves through their choices and through their designs and their artwork. Um,
That's cool.
a lot of what I do is involved with that, I think,
Do you
and that's
mind?
why I love tabletop gaming.
Do you mind if you don't mind sharing like kind of what you do? You don't have to say where specifically, but
Yeah,
I
yeah.
think it's pretty cool.
I work at a library makerspace. Support your local libraries.
Mm.
Mine is relatively new. We opened up in 2020, and I was one of the staff that was a part of opening it up. Um, and we are essentially a public arts and crafts studio. So you can come in and you can use a bunch of equipment. We have 3D printers, we have embroidery machines, we have sewing machines, we have vinyl cutters, we have a laser engraver, we have painting, we have drawing, we have button makers, a bunch of different stuff like that. And it's completely free to use. There's no charge. And we sell materials if you wanted to use, if you didn't bring something to work on. Um, And a part of my work also is about not just running the space and making sure that and teaching people how to use the machines and stuff like that, but also to plan for programs and classes and stuff like that. And so a lot of the stuff that I do is like intro level classes, like learn how to vinyl cut or learn how to laser engrave or learn how to embroider. But my favorite ones are always like learn how to make a D&D character.
Yeah.
Or learn how to paint a mini. Or I have a Bob Ross program where I dress up in a red wig and we put on a Bob Ross video and I teach people how to do Bob Ross paintings with acrylic, which is a lot cheaper than oil.
Yeah.
That kind of stuff.
That's cool.
So that's what I do for.
I 100% agree about supporting libraries. I work kind of freelance at some libraries. If I can just add a quick note, also libraries, I've borrowed Blu-rays, I've borrowed video games, I've borrowed music. Like, 100% recommend getting a library card.
My library just got a kit for ghost hunting.
Oh, cool.
So you can check out a kit with like an EMF detector and like infrared camera and like a thermos and like a temperature gauge. It's really cool. Yeah, no, check out your local library. It is incredibly important. You can support your local library just by registering for a library card. You don't even have to use it.
I think it's this month is like get a library card month or something like that. I know that
something like that.
Something like that.
We've had a bunch of students come in from like the local schools and stuff like that.
Nice. To
register for the library cards and doing a lot of outreach. Yeah, no, support your local libraries. They offer so much more than just books. And that is kind of one of the things that we offer is that we offer knowledge and skills. That's a part of my job. And that's one of the reasons why I love my work so much is that I can kind of like help people realize the dream that they have, the design that they have in their head, that like they come in, they're like, I want to make this, I have no idea how to make this. And I can be like, okay, here's some pathways to get to that point. It's fun. It's a really, really satisfying job, and I really, really love it.
That's awesome. And then kind of going back to discovering things, and some questions. So I've been involved with Extra Life for 14 years. Yourself, how long have you known or been involved with Extra Life?
I have known about Extra Life since I was a teenager.
Okay.
I was not an active participant until about 2017 or 2018.
Okay.
I watched Rooster Teeth when I was a kid, and Rooster Teeth always participated in game day with a 24-hour stream every year, and raised a lot of money and a lot of shenanigans got up to it, and it was super fun. I did not get involved personally with Extra Life until another board member, Melissa, started doing the 24-hour stream and asking me for help and stuff like that. And I was like, yeah, sure, I can do that. It was a lot of fun. I've done a lot of streams with her. And then about a year ago now, half a year, three quarters of a year.
I've lost track. Oh, time is like crazy now.
I know. It's like a little bit less than a year. Melissa asked me to come meet all of you guys at I think it was a Dave and Buster's. Something like that.
Yes, back in January or February.
January.
Yeah,
I think. And it was a meeting about like the previous year, essentially.
Yeah.
And I ended up meeting you. I ended up meeting Jackie. I ended up meeting Nate. I ended up hanging out and playing a lot of games. And I pitched the idea to Jackie about Warhammer. And how I felt like tabletop gaming was an untapped resource in the Extra Life community. I think the biggest thing that prevented me from jumping into Extra Life was that I felt like I didn't have something new to offer.
Right.
And I felt like the idea of what are they called? Battle reports. Okay. Where you have cameras following along for a Warhammer game, and you watch all the rolls, and you can see the game progress. And just other like D&D streams.
Right.
You know, a lot of tabletop gaming, Spell Table, Magic the Gathering games. There's a lot of like untapped potential. I feel like that Extra Life hadn't really, at least not that I had seen, stepped into. And so I pitched this idea to Jackie about Warhammer and incorporating that with Extra Life. And I heard back from her, I think like a week or two later, with an email asking me to join the board. And I said yes. And it's been an amazing experience so far.
That's awesome. Do you want to tell people kind of like what you've been doing since you've joined us on the board?
Yeah. So mostly what I do on the board is I go out to local game stores and I talk to the owners and I ask if they want to do anything with Extra Life, if they want to work with us. That's the primary thing I do. The secondary thing I do that kind of incorporates that is I ask, do you want us to be able, can we use the space to run a Warhammer tournament? And if they say yes, then I will schedule a date and then I sell tickets and all the tickets go to Extra Life. And then I will TO a Warhammer tournament, a tournament organizer. And I have some extra little donation incentives, which is like, previously it had been $10 for a reroll because I didn't want people to abuse it. Now I want people to abuse it, so I'm going to lower it to $2 for a reroll.
Oh.
And you could spend $20 and something would happen where you would roll the D20 of Destiny.
Mm-hmm.
And something would happen to every single battlefield in the store during the tournaments. And initially I was worried about it because I thought that it was not fair or not competitive, or like it would affect the games and so make me feel bad. But one of my favorite things about working with charity is that I don't mind going against my virtues or morals in order to raise money for charity, you know? So, and I was like, it's for charity, and also it's fun and it's funny. So I'm going to give in to the devil on my shoulder and say, yeah, let's roll the D20 of Destiny. It's been a lot of fun so far.
That's awesome.
And I also go to things like ELU with you guys. We went to ELU in, God, was it June? July.
It feels like forever ago, but yeah, July.
It feels like a year ago. July. Where we went to Extra Life United and went to the Ignite peer-to-peer conference and raised a lot of money for lurries and met a lot of people and had a good time.
That's awesome.
And that's primarily what I do for the guild.
We appreciate.
I hang out in board games on Discord.
Hey, we appreciate all that you do, especially as like, I feel like especially growing the advisor so that we can kind of, instead of one person kind of juggling a bunch of things, it's like we can kind of divvy up things. My experience is just like having you available and kind of taking on the challenge of focusing more on like tabletop and Warhammer and all that. It's like I feel like you're really specialized. You can tournament organize, and it's like it's great for that. And it's like I can kind of do this instead of like trying to learn what you're doing and do that. You know.
Yeah. No, it's a lot of fun. It's one of those things where, like, there are so many ways to represent yourself through your army in Warhammer, and so I love learning about all the different rules and what they mean. Not just in like what do they do on the table, but like why did the player pick that outcome for their army? Like why did they pick that faction or that sub-faction? Why do they choose these miniatures?
Right.
There's no logical reason to bring 4 zombie dragons, but it's fun, you know.
Cool.
Yeah, it's cool. I was talking with a player from my community the other day who was thinking about showing up to the tournament that I'm currently organizing with 4 great unclean ones, which are big, giant, rotting, fat guys that have 1 million health and just kind of slowly waddle around the battlefield. And he's like, I'm going to lose because I can't control the battlefield, but it'll be fun. I'm like, yeah, it'll be fun.
I think that's the fun thing about like casual tournaments. It's like, this is where I can kind of experiment and do something I normally wouldn't, because it's like I'm more focused on winning rather than like playing for the fun of it. If that makes sense.
The worst thing you can do with a video game or a tabletop game or a game in general is figure out what the best possible strategy is.
The min-maxing or whatever.
Kind of like min-maxing. Like I understand. Kind of. I was very into, and I still very much so am, into the idea of being as strong as you possibly can because it's fun to be strong.
Yeah.
But I do think it's more important first to pick what is cool to you or what is fun for you or what you enjoy, and then you make that strong. I think that is a lot more fulfilling than just being like, what's winning, what has the highest win rate, okay, I'm gonna pick that, you know. And that's kind of always been my philosophy with gaming ever since I remember it. I actively will avoid things that are like the statistically strongest.
Was it the meta
thing.
they call it or something?
The meta.
Yeah. I'm hearing about it as I learn about TCGs or trading card games for anyone who's not familiar with the acronym. Do want to ask some questions. One question someone did send to me was, what is a something like a positive takeaway you've gotten from being a part of Extra Life?
Oh man. I think it's genuinely just taking something I love and doing good with it.
Yeah.
I think it is an incredibly fulfilling feeling to just do good with what I love, to just know that my hobbying and my what some could consider wasted time is doing a lot of good and is helping people.
Yeah.
And you meet so many people and you see the actual results of your actions. It's just an incredibly fulfilling experience.
Nice. I like that. Some questions I'm going to just kind of off the top of my head. For someone who hasn't signed up for Extra Life, or maybe someone who's new, what's some advice on, like, what would you tell someone about joining, or what's something advice you'd give to who's just starting out?
Get your friends to join.
Yeah.
Reach out to all of your friends. Get them all to join an Extra Life. Tell them about Extra Life is so cool. Extra Life is the coolest thing in the world. Most of the time, I feel like people just don't know what Extra Life is. And the moment that you explain it to like your gaming group, they're gonna want to be on. They're gonna want to. It's so cool. It's so cool. Why would they not? Get your friends involved, and then that way you have more of a reason to, I think, get involved with Extra Life because you can hang out with your friends and do it.
Yeah.
Get your friends involved. Get your community involved. Just build it up. There will be a lot of excitement. Extra Life is an incredibly welcoming community, and I was a part of the influx of essentially Warhammer players to Extra Life, and it's been nothing but a positive experience for me. So I would just say get your friends involved, get your family involved, get your work involved, whatever kind of social networks you have. Tell them about Extra Life. Tell them about what you're doing. Tell them about how they can join and sign up. It just makes it more fun.
And then maybe someone who's said like they either don't have the time or they don't think they could raise enough money. Is there something you might tell them to kind of like push them a little bit?
So about the time, it is definitely an investment. I won't lie, but it is as much of an investment as you want to give. Extra Life will never ask you for more than you can give, ever. And honestly, if you do it right, it doesn't take a lot because you're just doing your own hobbies, you're doing what you love, and you're just giving a little bit. And as far as I'm worried about, I won't raise enough money or something like that. Any amount raised is more than zero. And any amount raised is good. Genuinely, it is. Yeah, I don't think people should beat themselves up over raising money for charity. I think it is whatever good you can do is monumentally more than what you didn't do.
I like that. Let's see. And if anyone has questions in the chat, please send them our way. I know we'll probably wrap up in a little bit. Let's see. We've got game day coming up in just a little over a month and a half now. Do you have plans for like so I will also let people know my other thing is like if you can't do National Game Day, don't worry about it. Whatever day works best for you. But do you have plans for like your marathon or what you're going to be doing for like a game day?
Yes, I will be streaming. Excuse me.
You're fine.
I will be streaming November. I'm gonna look at the calendar really fast. November 3rd, which specifically is the day after game day. There's a couple reasons for that. First of all, it's because that's the day that I have off, and I work on Saturdays, and I have to ask for the time off, and I already do that enough for other things for Extra Life, so I didn't want to do that. The other is that my very good friend Melissa is streaming on the Saturday before the 2nd, and I'm going to be a part of that stream because that's tradition. And then the following day, I'll be getting up at 7 a.m. My original plan, I'm still kind of going with it, is I want to see if I can beat Elden Ring in under 24 hours.
Ooh.
So I'm going to start from the beginning of the game as a wretch, level 1.
Wow.
And I'm going to try to see if I can become an Elden Lord in under 24 hours. We'll see if we go through with that. There is a game coming out on Halloween that I am incredibly excited for.
Ooh, what game?
That I might be playing. Dragon Age: The Veilguard.
Oh man, I've just been seeing previews and
It's from the previews. It sounds like BioWare is back.
Yeah.
Honestly.
Yeah.
And I cannot wait.
That could be something. So game day related. What is some advice you give to someone who's either first time doing a marathon game day or has done it, but maybe something they might not think about? What's something that's kind of like you've learned and has helped you for your marathons?
So this is actually my very first marathon I'm going to be participating all the way through.
That's awesome.
Previously, I've helped out Mel for a couple hours. The best advice I can give is frankly from my early days of high school playing WoW for 24 hours straight. Stay hydrated.
Yeah.
Make sure you drink water. Don't drink soda. You can have an iced coffee as a treat, but don't only drink coffee. Drink water. Have healthy snacks like nuts or celery or carrots or apples and peanut butter, which is one of the best snacks ever. If you can, don't do what I'm doing, which is I'm playing one game for 24 hours. Because that's kind of difficult. I'm doing it because I genuinely love Elden Ring, and this is a challenge that I want to see myself fulfill. Break up the 24 hours or the 12 hours into segments. It makes the time pass a lot faster. And have fun. Do what you love.
You kind of covered in the next question I was going to ask is do you have a favorite snacks or drinks you have for your marathon? But
I will sit with a plate of chopped up slices of apples with a jar of peanut butter, and I'll just scoop it and eat. It's so good. It is delicious. And it's so filling.
My college snack was a jar of peanut butter and pretzel rods, the giant pretzel rod. I just just
so
use
good.
that instead of a spoon.
My co-captains for Extra Life are very recently newly parents, and they had a daughter, and she recently had a doctor's appointment where they prescribed her to eat more peanut butter.
Oh.
Which is I want that prescription.
Yeah. Ooh, I'm seeing marshmallow fluff in the chat.
Marshmallow fluff. That sounds delicious. Also Nutella. Nutella's not as healthy as peanut butter's a little healthier.
Yeah.
Out of all those options.
Yeah.
But Nutella is also an option.
Nutella and pretzels are a good combo. So we've covered game day. We've covered what I guess we could start wrapping up. So a couple other random questions. Do you have a desert island game? Could be board, video, whatever. It's kind of if you just had one game that you could kind of play for the rest of the time. Is there one?
Can I stipulate?
Sure.
So I would say if I had access to every single Magic the Gathering card, Magic the Gathering, 100%. I would be worried that if I just had my decks now, I would get crazy after playing the same 4 or 5 decks.
Yeah.
For a million years.
Yeah.
If that's not the case, I would probably say Final Fantasy 14.
Okay.
I would probably say I've sunk in a lot of hours into that game. That game is very good for the soul, I would say. It's a very heartwarming, very kind game, and it's gotten me through a lot of very dark times. So I would probably say that.
My next one was going to be, do you have a comfort, cozy kind of game? Sounds like
Final Fantasy 14.
Mm-hmm.
How long do we have?
Not too much, but if you want to say
Okay.
like maybe I've played a little bit. Didn't get too far because I was doing solo. But what would your recommendation be for like someone like why would you say someone should play it? Or get into it?
I say this utterly, like I mean what I say when I say this. It is one of the best stories I've ever been told. It is slow paced. It is slow moving. The payoff is incredible. And genuinely, I think it made me a better person for having played it.
Oh.
That is the best way I can describe it. The game was a failure when it first launched, and then they remade it completely. And that aspect of forgiveness and redemption and second chances happens again and again and again and again. And it's an incredibly validating experience.
That's awesome.
It is I highly recommend it. And if you want to play with me, let me know, because I live vicariously through watching people play through the story.
Okay.
It is so good.
Nice. Okay. And then I guess we can kind of start wrapping up with what do you have coming up that you'd like people to know about? I know you kind of touched upon one.
I have a Warhammer tournament coming up on, let me look for the link.
It's all right.
I am so prepared. Let's see. I have it on October 27th, 10 a.m. to 7 p.m. at Games Plus in Mount Prospect. I'm going to post the link in the chat to the tournament where you can register and sign up. It is $20 for a ticket. All proceeds go to my Extra Life page. It'll be a lot of fun. It's a casual, fun tournament. You can bring unpainted armies. You can bring wild, wacky stuff. You can bring a competitive list if you want to win, sure. It's gonna be fun. And then I have my 24-hour stream on the day after game day on November 3rd. I also, if I'm streaming, it's usually Monday night, and I will usually post it in the Discord. Please follow my Twitch channel. Okay, that's it.
Is that right? Did I type it right? Because I kind of guessed how to spell it all.
That is, let me click on the link. That is me.
Hey.
That is in fact my channel. Please go follow me, and you will get notifications when I update my stream. I usually stream Monday evenings. I've been streaming a lot of Elden Ring. I might stream some WoW because I've been playing a lot of that. I might stream some mini painting. Haha. That's me.
I have some stuff coming up. Guild related. October 12th. Also, Payton's involved. Working on the final schedule, but we have signups pretty much done for. We'll be doing I've lost count of Spookathon, but we're doing our annual Spookathon on October 12th, starting at 10 a.m. Payton had also mentioned, I don't know if you're still thinking about Dead by Daylight?
It's either going to be Dead by Daylight,
okay,
or Hunt the Showdown.
Okay.
They're both spooky games. It's just how much of a cowboy I feel like being.
Yeah.
Frankly.
But yeah, we might have some multiplayer game stuff. So like, if join our Discord, we'll probably post like availability for people to join games. I haven't figured out my game yet. I still haven't quite figured out where I might fit in the schedule. But that's October 12th. We've got LodgeCon. There's another event quite a bit on National Game Day of November 2nd. For people listening, stay tuned. We will also have information about ELCGC, our Ice Your Life Chicago Gaming Convention, in March of 2025. I have to always
I
remember.
think so.
I'm pretty sure I just looked it up the other day.
So there's so many dates.
But just want to let people know. Join our Discord. Follow us on social media. I'm gonna put my Twitch as well. You can give me a follow. I am Arrow-84. March 8th. Thank you, Jackie. But yeah, thank you again, Payton, for joining, and everyone in chat. We appreciate y'all being here. Stay tuned. We're going to do a stream. Oh, I guess the other thing to stream is in October, we're going to probably do, before game day, we're going to do a pre-game day recommendation kind of stream. Just like advice, things like that. Kind of what Payton touched upon here. And then we're going to have more Meet the Guild, as I like to call it. I'm trying to figure out. And then I'm going to just abbreviate MTG. Just that CEO, that search engine optimization
needs some more positive association, so yeah. I'm fine with it.
So, thank you all for being here. And I like to sign off my streams with think about what you put in the world, make it a better place. Everyone, have a good night, and thanks again.